Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon FXBG, public radio, or its sponsors. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Excuse me. Hello and welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, lowercase. Thank you for tuning in. We're continuing this practice of just putting out free live content because, to be honest, usually it's a pain in the butt because we've got to transfer the file. I got to bring it back here, edit it, and so forth. And now it just, makes everything a little bit easier on me. It's a lot harder to provide content behind the paywall, which is the whole point of why we're doing this promo thing, is that we're doing we want to show you all the content that we have behind the paywall. And $3 a month, go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio, get access to everything, all the content. We also got a couple other tiers if you want a sponsorship. You got some business, you sell cupcakes, or a lot of people do that. A lot of people sit at home baking right now, right? Baking bread. But if you got some, you want to do an ad, we got ad available over at patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. I won't spend too much time on that. Hello and welcome. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're maintaining your sanity during this pandemic, such as it is. And so it's been hilarious because I've seen people in their own cars with face masks on. If you're alone in your car, why would you be wearing a mask? That makes no sense. It's your car. And that's why it doesn't make much sense that people going to a drive-in church should be given tickets or being broken up or anything like that. We'll get into the news later, I suppose. The thing is, it's not the government that's going to save you. It's not going to be some miracle drug that's going to end this thing. Okay, it's not what's going to get us through this. What's going to get us through this is each other. All right, people are whining about the federal government. Why? I mean, every time you have a problem, you don't go drive to Washington and knock on president's door saying, "I demand to speak to you because of X, Y, Z." That's not how a republic works. A republic works from the bottom up. If you need help, you go to your friends and family first. If you need help, you go, or if you don't have any friends and family, you go to your church. Then you go to your local government. Anyway, but I do really love how people have been memeing the hell out of the whole coronavirus thing. I mean, it's so like humanity to laugh in the face of all this fear, and I mean, even if there was a higher even if it was a 90% infection rate with some other pandemic, and an 80% fatality rate, the last few people alive on Earth will still be memeing about it. I guarantee it, because that's who we are as a species. It's what I love about humanity, really, is our ability to laugh in the face of horror. I don't know how many horror movies you've seen, but I've seen a lot, and I've laughed at many of them. Why be scared when you can laugh at it? Anyway, we will survive this. It's going to be your neighbor helping you out. It's going to be your friend giving your family a package of toilet paper so you can make it a few more days. That's where the beauty of America is. It's our communities and our larger communities and our larger communities and larger communities. Don't think at a federal level when it comes to containing something like this. You contain something like this because of you. People started social distancing when all this started going on. People started people handed like fast food meals on trays. Everyone's wearing masks. And have you seen these people wearing masks just over their mouth? What the hell? What, do you know how stupid you look? Well, I can't breathe. Then don't wear the mask. It's useless at that point. If you're still breathing through your nose, people, they'll show you how stupid they are. They'll drive alone in their car with a mask on. I can't wait for some dude to pass out behind the wheel because he can't breathe. It's got a really, really thick mask. Seriously, though, it is smart to be safe when in public. If you're sitting in your house with a mask on and latex gloves playing with your kids, there's something wrong with your head. Okay? But remember, it's us that's going to stop this. It's not the government. The only thing the governments do well is fuck up and spend our money. Okay? And watch out for those authoritarians. They'll take advantage of any crisis they can. Watch out for them. Donald Trump, don't trust China asshole. All right, let's go into this next segment here. Ace Bully, I got to roast him. We were few weeks ago before we went to this like quarantine mode where we're doing a lot of stuff remotely. We wanted to do something together, and I kind of flaked out on it, and that's my fault. And we should have did something before, we knew it'd be hard to get together. But Ace Bully is another YouTuber. He's over. You can go just search for Ace Bully. I'm sure you'll find him. I'm going to roast him, and so when I describe him, you'll know what you're looking for when you find it. So he wanted me to roast him, and he said, just do your worst. And I find this hard to do when somebody is, because his YouTube channel is mainly roasts, and that's okay if that's what your content is. But I like the guy. I'd rather like have never met him. It's like, why didn't you just send me an email? But I do like the guy, but I am going to roast him. Ace Bully on YouTube. You look like a burnt Smurf. No. Actually, you look like somebody used a broken shrink ray on Wiz Khalifa. You have the same build as that actor from that movie, Black Panther. Hey, EK, do you know who the actor who played Shuri was? No? Okay. And just looking at you, bro, I can tell you're the kind of guy that has a stepladder in your kitchen. Or are you the kind of guy that keeps the cereal under the sink? When you're walking like in public, how many kids ask you what grade you're in? Your facial hair looks like you passed out at a party and somebody drew it in. Feel horrible. But you wanted me to roast him. I want to give him a little bit of time. Ace Bully on YouTube. Go check him out. He's a weird looking dude. Seriously, like broken shrink ray. Like like in Inner Space where they shrunk down that old guy that was in every movie, and the other kind of like that, All right. So I figured out why Tulsi Gabbard was edged out of the DNC and she never had a shot of being the nominee. And I'll tell you why. The Democratic Party is run by ugly feminists right now. And they see a pretty girl getting up there, has some promise, has some stage appeal. Because let's be honest, it's like Sarah Palin. There is one reason why she was elected. I mean, it's sexist to think so, but there's a reason why a lot of women vote for good-looking dudes. That's just the nature of things. And you know what? A lot of dudes would vote for Tulsi Gabbard. All right, and that's just the way humanity is. We sex on the brain all the time. Just ask Joe Biden. And so I know why Tulsi got edged out is because all these ugly feminists are like the mean girls, right? And they're like, they hate her immediately just because she's prettier than them. And you know how it is. You know how it is with these catty bitches and these mean girls. That's a good movie. Mean Girls. It's so truthful. I like bacon. Okay, yeah, so it's about these catty bitches. They try to make, ugly people beautiful. There's like body positivity no matter what you look like. And, I know ugly when I see it, all right? I've been looking at it for a long time, okay? I shame myself. Anyway, so I figured out why Tulsi Gabbard was edged out, because catty bitches hate pretty girls. And they're so angry, those feminists. They're so angry. But they all want to call themselves mommy when they take pictures of their dog and cat. I'm a cat mom. Ugh. Why don't you just be a mom anyway? So let's get into my supervillain plots. 51 through 54. Did a couple last week, but this is finishing up this segment, and I think these are kind of interesting. So supervillain plot number 51. Now, when it comes to Uranus, when it comes to Uranus, I want to get in there as deep as possible. See what's under the ice. Oh, where'd you think I was going? All right, I'm not going to do a Uranus joke again. So when it comes to Uranus, I kind of want to fix it. I mean, as soon as I look at it, I'm just like, no, you're doing it wrong. We gotta tilt you back to the right way, because it's just kind of like rolling there, and it's stupid, and it's a magnetosphere is all crazy. Oh my God! So I mean, this brings in a lot of logistical issues when it comes to trying to build anything on Uranus. So, but the first instinct is to try to fix it, but how do you fix it? Do you attach two big giant rockets going the opposite direction on opposite sides of the planet and just try to yank it out? But what happens to the moon? So I don't know what to do about Uranus in that regard. So since I don't think we have the technology to fix a planet's rotation at this time, you know, I think that the best thing to do is to build an underground theme park. All right, we call it Herschel Park, and it has like roller coasters and the swinging ship things and that circle thing that presses you up against the wall. We get some of that, and it's like all the food is ice cream, all different ice creams from all over the galaxy. It's like that's the slogan. We're the best ice cream in the galaxy. We call it Herschel Park, and that's the only use. It have to be underground because the surface is crazy, winds and storms. It's like have to be underground, but hey, let's turn our theme park into it, Herschel Park. But you know that there's so many electronics, and because the magnetosphere is so crazy, man. I tell you, it's tough to deal with these two planets because their magnetosphere is so weird. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah. Hey, you know, not every supervillain plot has to be evil, okay? All right, Dr. Doom and Red Skull, you know, they'll take time out for a roller coaster now and again. All right? Yeah, that was fun, Dr. Doom. We go again. Yeah, well, Red Skull. I read comic books. Supervillain plot 52. But if the magnetosphere is problematic on Uranus, we could do the underground theme park on Neptune. But we couldn't call it Herschel Park. We'd have to call it something else. Neptune was found by math. I guess math is useful. So just looking at Neptune right off the bat, I think it could be a really dope spot for extreme sports. You know, they got 1,200-mile-an-hour winds. You know, I don't really know. So like paragliding and like base jumping and, you know, halo jumps. And what's that other thing where you got a parachute, a big fan on your back? You know, just I bet it'd be a really cool spot for like extreme sports like that. But I don't really know a whole lot about extreme sports. So I'd have to partner up with somebody who's in extreme sports, who knows a little bit more about it. So somebody who could say something like, no, base jumping in a 1,200-mile-an-hour winds is suicide, bruh, or whatever extreme sports guys say. So that's probably the idea there, is turn that into a playground for base jumpers and adrenaline junkies. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's hard to figure out what to do with these two planets. So it's not like every supervillain plan can't be, let's shoot nukes at it and see what happens. You know, why would I want to ignite, you know, two burning ice balls at the edge of our solar system? What's the point in that? They're not going to become stars. They're just going to burn and melt slowly. Stupid idea. So not every planet has to involve nukes, blowing it up, setting it on fire. I don't want people thinking that I'm a bedwetter. All right. Supervillain plot number 53. Pluto is clearly lost and unwelcome. All right. He's the guy that shows up at the party that no one likes. And we're planets, bro. Came late to the party, bro. We're the planets. You know, we already formed our gang. We're the planets. So it's clearly lost and unwelcome. So I have two different plans. So we need to shit or get off the pot when it comes to Pluto. So plan 53A is simply to blow it up like we did Mercury. Just, you know, bore into Mercury, but enough explosives, boom, get rid of it. Or we could do the more polite thing, which is probably attach a couple rockets to it and just force it enough out of its orbit and send it on its way. Nobody likes Pluto. Let's get rid of it. Unless supervillain plot 54 is feasible. Supervillain plot number 54. Imagine this. Picture this. Out in the Oort cloud somewhere is this very large space station. And this space station has luxury hotels, fancy restaurants, a mall, shopping, little play areas for the kids. Maybe even a couple of roller coasters on the space station itself. Who knows? Excuse me. But the biggest attraction is the driving range and golf course. We call it Hole Zero, at the edge of the Oort cloud, just rotating slowly at the edge of our system. And You can sit there and you can drive balls towards the sun or out of the system all day if you want. All day if you want. Doesn't that sound fun? If you like golf. But the real attraction is the golf course. Now you get these golf balls, right? They're trackable. They have your name and your social security number on them. They send out pulses that are picked up by the satellites that are orbiting every planet in the system by the time we're out by the Oort cloud. Enough to the point where we could build a massive luxury hotel. Anyway, this is hole 0, my hotel idea, trademarked by the Madman today on the 14th of April. So,
man, I wrote hole as in
we hold on, EK, I'll get to it. So, you sit there and you tee off at the golf course there at hole 0, right? And like hole 1 is like on Pluto, and that's a par 4. Hole 2 is on Nereid, and that's a par 5. It's got an erratic orbit, Hole 3 is on Neptune. It's a par 4. It's kind of a chip shot, but there's a lot of high winds. Hole 6 is on Titan. I'm guessing that should probably be a 5 or 6 par. It's going to be a tough drive off Uranus. There's little tee-off stations, EK. There's little tee-off stations in orbit around every hole, okay? Stop interrupting me with logic. Jesus. Okay, where was I? Yeah. Hole 7 is on Io. It's par 4. Hole 8 is... No, I'm not mad. No, I love you, bro. All right. Hole 8 is on... you know how it goes. You know how... You know the thing. It's a golf course that walks its way through the solar system. And so... it's the kind of game of golf that you'd have to will to your children and grandchildren, like a parrot, and so it would be interesting because it would take a long time to play that game. Think about that. You can't get in your inheritance until you till you complete like your great grandfather's game. You're sitting there sweating on Mercury with a putt. I got to make par. you have to make par. Anyway, supervillain mind. That's just a glimpse into the crazy ideas that I have. And so let me know if you like the supervillain plot segment. I might those are tough to write though, I'll be honest with you. Those are tough to write. So I want to talk to you about a guy I've known for years. And it kind of pisses me off that he exists and he shouldn't be looked up to and he's not a role model or anything like that. All right. And he's the kind of guy who slacks off at his job. I mean, he's got a good job, right? Where you could advance, and he just does nothing extra. He does the bare minimum all day long. It's a good job. You could advance, but you've been in the same position for years. You've been in the same position for years, dude. It's like, try to see what happens, and it's just irritating. It's like you got to work. You got to really try to do your job anyway. And he's a real dipshit. He frequently, he works a whole shift and then he'll like frequently have these harebrained schemes that he'll follow through on. It's like if Kramer from Seinfeld also had a full-time job at a power plant or something, and then after work he comes in, busts through a door with some crazy harebrained scheme to get rich quick or something. It's irritating. He's an alcoholic. He's always at the bar coming up with these harebrained schemes with his dumbass friends, and it's just irritating. And what pisses me off is this guy's married and got 3 kids. All right. And his wife is smart, kind, forgiving, and patient. And it just irritates me because people like this shouldn't breed. People like him shouldn't breed, I should say. And it just makes no sense when good women are with dipshits like that. And so, and they got these 3 kids, and the oldest is a son that they rumored to be physically abused by the father, by this guy. Douche chills. And he's always getting in trouble at school with the law and so forth. He's got 2 daughters. The older one is quite intelligent, but keeps to herself. And the other one is like 2.5 years old and can't walk, barely can stand. This guy's a dipshit. He's a klutz. He's constantly like busting a finger open with a hammer, constantly falling down the stairs, walking into stuff, and he's constantly shouting, "Go!" His name is Homer Simpson, and he's not a role model. Make a good time with the rants and everything. All right, I want to talk about Queen for a little bit because, as you know, Queen is probably my favorite band of all time. They're such a great band, and but there's I got into Queen in like the late '90s, somewhere after. I'm sorry, early '90s, sometime after Wayne's World came out. You know, the headbang thing. But that's when I just started buying up all the Queen stuff I could, and then you get all the liner notes. You know, you get an album, you get the liner notes, and sometimes in the Queen albums, you'd have liner notes that include lyrics. And of course, I'm the kind of guy who reads the liner notes. I'm the kind of guy that will sit there and listen to a record and read the records, everything that's available on the record. And so, but I read many Queen songs that seem to make no sense, especially when Freddie writes them, and you know that Freddie writes them. But there's just two songs I want to talk about today that are just complete gibberish, all right? And I think they're hilarious. And so I'm gonna read the lyrics of these songs like they're poems, because we're gonna see how far I can get through this. All right. The first song I'm going to talk about is Headlong. It's off the 1991 Innuendo album, the chillingly good Innuendo album by Queen. But Headlong is like a hard rocket song. It's a really good tune. It's a really good song. But lyrics are kind of gibberish. All right, and it starts out and it's basically got a chorus and a pre-chorus, where it's now you're rushing headlong. You got a new goal. You're rushing headlong, out of control, and you think you're so strong, but there ain't no stopping, and there's nothing you could do about it. Nothing you could do, nothing you could do, nothing you could do about it. And so and it kind of refrains that every other stanza or whatever. And you're rushing headlong. You got a new goal. Rushing out of control. You think you're so strong. It does that a couple times. And it's a good hard rocking beat that is fairly sensible. That does make a little bit of sense. But then it has these verse segments, right? So I'm going to read you these verse segments because this is where it gets crazy. Hey, he used to be a man with a stick in his hand. Hoop diddy diddy, hoop diddy do. She used to be a woman with a hot dog stand. Hoop diddy diddy, hoop diddy do. Now you've got soup in the laundry bag. Now you got strings. You got to lose your rag. You're getting in a fight, then it ain't so groovy when you're screaming in the night, let me out of this cheap B movie. And you're watching headlong, and then goes into another verse thing. All right. Does the chorus again, I mean. And then another verse. And the verse is, when a red hot man meets a white hot lady, hoop diddy diddy, hoop diddy do. When the fire starts a raging, gets them more than half crazy, hoop diddy diddy, hoop diddy do. Now they start freaking every way you turn. You can't start walking because your feet got burned. Ain't no time to figure wrong from right because reason's out the window. Better hold on tight. You're rushing headlong. It's gibberish. It's gibberish. It's brilliantly addicting gibberish. Respect, Queen. Respect. I tell you what, it's like I don't think I could write about nothing. Soup in the laundry bag. Anyway, now I'm going to tell you about Fairy Feller's masterstroke. Now I mentioned a month or two ago, about how everyone's gaydar wasn't refined in the 70s. People did, but I mean, when it comes to this Queen song, I believe this is off Queen 2 album. I believe so. Queen 2 album, their second album, called The Fairy Feller's Masterstroke. Now, like I said, like in the 70s, people's gaydar wasn't that attuned. But this song is so, let's see how far I get, because it's so pretentious and gay. Okay, The Fairy Feller's Masterstroke by Queen. He's a fairy feller. The fairy folk have gathered round the new moon's shine to see the feller crack a nut at night's noontime. To swing his axe he swears, as he climbs he dares to deliver the masterstroke. Plowman, wagoner, Willin types, politician with senatorial pipe. He's a dilly-dallio. Pedagogue squinting, wears a frown, and a satyr peers under lady's gown. What a dirty fellow. He's a dirty fellow. What a dirty laddie-o. Sorry. It gets more pretentious. Tatterdemalion and the junketer. There's a thief and a dragonfly trumpeter. He's my hero. Fairy dandy tickling the fancy of his lady friend, the nymph in yellow. What a query fellow. And then, they do some vocalizing. And soldier, sailor, tinker, tailor, plowboy, waiting to hear the sound. And the arch magician presides. He is the leader. Oberon and Titania, watched by a harridan. Mab is the queen, and there's a good apothecary man come to say hello. Fairy dandy tickling the fancy of his lady friend, the nymph in yellow. What a query fellow. The ostler stares with hands on his knees. Come on, Mr. Feller, crack it open if you please. Isn't that the most pretentious and gay poem you've ever heard? I'm not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm cool with being gay. But you got to admit, that is pretty pretentious and pretty damn gay. All right? I mean no offense, but as a literary critic, you got to understand what I mean by that, right? Oh man, I love Queen. It's a good band. It's like I don't know if I could ever write something that pretentious. I really like their early stuff, you know. They're really prog rock and stuff like that. They're worth a listen. I'm not saying that, you know, it's the best. I mean, they still were unrefined in the early era, but then again, you know, I really like the prog rock. You hear all different styles, ukulele instruments, musical styles. They made a ragtime song that kicks ass. It's the best ragtime song I've ever heard. Bring back that Leroy Brown. Who records a ragtime song in the 70s? Queen. Here we are, 6:29. I think it's close enough to get into the news worth knowing. Give me the signal, EK. Oh, I faked you out. There is no news worth knowing because the news worth knowing has been hijacked. Hijacking the news worth knowing is an option available for a one-time $100 payment. You can hijack the news worth knowing, and you decide what we're talking about for the second half of our show. Today, it's been hijacked by me, the Madman. It's my show. I could do what the hell I want with it, and I don't want to talk about news anyway. News is depressing the shit out of me. I don't know about you. So I'd rather just rant here a little bit, if you don't mind. So, yeah, if you go over to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio, we got several tiers. The $3 tier is the basic tier, and that gives you access to everything. All these tiers give you access to everything. And you can be an advertiser for $60 a month, or you can become a hijack the news worth knowing, like I have. And so I just wanted to point that out. You can also check us out on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. That does a lot for us in the various marketplaces of social media these days, because everyone's different and it's all a little weird. We also have a not Shock Monkey Radio, but FXBG Public Radio has a Twitch channel now. EK and I, mostly EK, are going to be playing like video games. He says, well, I'm playing video games anyway, might as well make a Twitch channel. And it's like, yeah, I'll see you on Twitch. You know, so search for FXBG Public Radio on Twitch. Right now he's playing Final Fantasy, and we might be playing some WoW Classic here soon. I don't know. So yeah, that should be fun. Anyway, so yeah, I've hijacked the news worth knowing. Now, I want to tell you why I decided to do this. Is because yesterday, Stephen Crowder has also been putting out his content for free. I'm going to be honest, he's one of my many inspirations, and so I like Stephen Crowder a lot, and I like what he's doing. And I think that we should do it as well because we're all bored. We're all bored out of our mind. Might as well. And once this is all over, then I know you'll have a little bit more cash because I mean, now is probably not the time you're going to subscribe or get over on Patreon. Maybe a few months down the road, you'll decide to become a patron of my show, and that's why I'm releasing this stuff for free. But Stephen Crowder, he does his Mass Mondays. This is one of his shows that keeps behind the paywall, and I haven't really been able to see him until this month, and I really do enjoy. And if I get enough patrons, then I can be able to afford to join Mug Club and see Mass Monday on a weekly basis, because I really do like Mass Mondays for a lot of reasons. And it's inspired me to want to talk about my faith a little bit. And but you've been swearing and you're an obvious sinner. You're smoking and drinking. And it's like, yes, I am. I'm a Baptist. Done laughing? No? Okay. I'll wait. Yeah, so I was inspired to. I know I'm a weird kind of character. The podcasts I listen to, the people I watch on YouTube. I know I'm an odd character, and that I like Stephen Crowder. I like Dr. Jordan Peterson. I like Ben Shapiro. I like Gavin McInnes. It's all over the place, really. I like Tim Pool. It's all over the place. And I think that's pretty much what I love about entertainment these days is you've got so many options and you can watch what you want to watch. But I mean, I know how it is. It's like you get to a point where you're like, I feel like I've watched everything on Netflix. I feel like I've watched everything on YouTube. Well, apparently not. I have tons of videos. I have like 68 subscribers now on YouTube, and I got like hours upon hours of content up there alone. What I have on Patreon is hours and hours of content that's also behind the paywall. But not today. But I want to talk about my faith because I am an obvious sinner. I grew up in the church. I grew up mostly going to things because, church was just something I did. Your parents went to church. They took you to church. It's like when you're young, you really don't understand what it's all about. And then you start hitting puberty, getting prepubescent, you start to figure out what it's all about. And it's weird how your mind starts developing at a point when you hit puberty. It's like, oh, I kind of get this. I'm definitely, yeah, we could talk about Jesus and stuff, but I want to talk to these teenage girls that are my age. This was cute. So I'm, almost 43 years old. And, I'm a long way from those centrifuge retreats and world changers. And you know how it was. It's like your church will have a retreat, you raise some money, and then you sell some candy bars or something. You raise some money, and then you can get to go to this church camp kind of thing where you eat a sausage and do trust falls and shit and builds character. And so and it was a lot of fun, but it was mostly feeling up girls. Making out with them and stuff like that. No, we're at church camp. It was a lot of stuff like that. I mean, but eventually, you're just so damn bored waiting to the part where you can talk to the girls that you're just like, all right, I'll pay attention just because I'm so damn bored. And I remember things. I'm really good at remembering things, and it's kind of a curse sometimes. But so I got really good at remembering like how the Bible goes and stories from the Bible. Memorizing, it's just been a natural talent of mine. That's like in my book, like the Jackrabbit in the book is based upon a guy who has photographic memory, which is kind of similar to me. And there are people out there who have photographic memories. What do they call it? Eidetic. Remember that word. Anyway, so of course I learned a lot about it, and I became kind of like a leader by default because I kind of have a odd charm to me, even though I'm a little weird and I say things off the cuff. I'm a little bit of a madman. I guess I have an odd charm to me. I've never been not really been afraid of public speaking so much. It scares me more if there's people in the room. I can sit here and talk to a webcam all day long because, as far as I'm concerned, I'm alone in my basement. All right. That being said, my that's where I developed my faith. But then you start getting to be 17 or 18, and you kind of get this rebellious streak in you. And I was just like, I was bored in church. I started listening to the Spanish language translation because we had a Hispanic ministry, Hispanic attendees at my church, and they had these a guy in the back who would listen to the sermon through the audio system, and he would translate it in Spanish to the Hispanic people. And I got a hold of one of the things because we had plenty, and so it was and I sit there and I listen to the sermon in Spanish and try to pick it up just because I was so bored, because I felt like I've heard it all before. The one thing I did like about doing like the high school era church stuff I did was World Changers. And World Changers was a group of people who went around to like build houses for the poor and stuff like that. I have to admit, the last year I did, I was pretty cynical and I wasn't into it. I kind of regret that. I wish I put more effort into it. But pretty much, I think I did it for three different years of World Changers. I had a blast. It was basically like construction work, in the dead of summer with, a bunch of 17-year-olds fixing houses for people who were, weren't of means. I thought that was a good thing to do. It was the right kind of thing to do. And it should be the business of every church as far as I was concerned. And so, I really did enjoy that. I mean, I thought it made me feel good. I also like after high school, I did hang sheetrock for a while. So I got some like skills, and I was able to like hang sheetrock for a while. And you get a sense of satisfaction when you work in construction, when you actually like fix somebody's house, when you could step back at the end before you go back home and you're just like, yeah, we made this better. It's the same thing as hanging. You go into a house that's just framed and you hang the sheetrock and it's just like, wow, it looks more like a home. And there's a real satisfaction to that kind of labor. I got to be honest, real satisfaction to that kind of labor. So let's talk about my failed relationships. And so, like I said, I was mostly there for the girls, and I really screwed all of that up. I mean, I was okay looking back then. Now I'm just hideous. And so it's I dated a couple girls here and there. It wasn't too successful. And kind of a dick, impossible to work with. You know how many hosts I've had, co-hosts I've had, and they quit because real difficult person to work with. In fact, EK was like, if you never come back to the studio again, that's cool. I'm kidding. We're both bummed out because it's like we feel weird not being at the studio, and we're running it all remotely. It's like EK's just like, it's just so cold and lonely and empty in my home. So I understand, bro. I really do. A lot of people, people are getting real lonely. I get it. I got a real high tolerance for this kind of stuff, so I'm okay. Anyway, so I had a lot of failed relationships back then, mostly because I was, I don't know, attracted to the wrong kind of women for a long time, long time. And so it was, and I was stupid and selfish and for a long time. And so it's, I'd have these failed relationships, and these are the kind of things that piss me off when it came to religion, when it came to God. And so I was like, I thought, God wants us to find a mate. I thought God wants us to be loved, wants me to get off. And I want to put my thingy in a girl, You know how it is when you're 17. Why does God hate me? This boner. It's like, you've been waking me up. It's like, say your prayers with a boner every morning. Get up and say your prayers, boner. Anyway, so it's and it's just like, why? Anyway, so I had a couple failed relationships, and I had one really bad one. I wish I wasn't such an idiot. I dated this girl named Virginia, called Jenny for short, and she we were like broken up, kind of talking again, and she was a lot of firsts for me. And so she died in a car accident. I'm just gonna keep walking past that. She died in a car accident, and unfortunately, I was a selfish asshole, and all I could think of is like how much it affects me, instead of being a douche and thinking about the family more. And I don't know, it kind of tore me up, to be honest. I thought that like God, it was the first time I thought that like God had stolen something from me, and that in retrospect, I look back at myself at that time and I'm just like, God, you were just a selfish asshole. I'm surprised you found anyone to date. And yeah, I'm right. 43-year-old me is right. And so and I had plenty of failed relationships after that as well. Because I'm a dick and I'm selfish and a bit of a madman. And so there's obviously been this ongoing loneliness all throughout my life. And this is like one of the biggest contentions between me and God, because I'm still kind of a selfish asshole who is like, I thought you wanted me to get married. You'd be fruitful and multiply. And I'm like, get a fucking real job first. And it's like, oh, God, that's a good one. That's a good one, God. God's funny like that. Yeah, so this resulted in a lot of anger, depression, and just maybe blame God a lot for that, especially between the ages of like 18 and like 20. Let's say, I'd say like 28, like 10 years. For like 10 years of my life, I was angry at God. And there was a couple of people I talked to about religion, and this is the late 90s. It was like late 90s, early aughts. No, I joined the Navy in 97. So yeah, it was like the mid 90s. And there are some people who understood like what I was going through and just how angry at the world and God I was. Angry at everybody. Madman, a real madman. Angry at the world, angry at the injustice of it. And people would find to the root of that problem, and they'd say, take it out on God, scream at him. He can handle your anger. He can handle your anger. And that's when I started screaming at God. Why must I live? Why must I be forced to stay here? Why is it a mortal sin to end it? I'm imperfect. I'm a sinner. My bad. And so this went on for like I said, like 10 years. It's just angry at God, angry at the world, But but then I joined the Navy in 1997, and that's where I realized there's no atheists in a foxhole. And that's when you're doing push-ups, you're getting cycled so hard, you've been doing flutter kicks for like 30, 40 minutes or something like that. Your abs are on fire. And you're like, God, if you get me through this, I'll do everything you say. And so as soon as I got out of boot camp, I was like, make sure my Bible, send me my Bible. It really turned me around. It's like I became less selfish. And that was kind of the point. I think that's why the military is a good experience, especially for anybody. I think it's a very humbling experience. And I've said it before, I was very arrogant and self-centered before I went in the Navy. And that's just like one good aspect of joining the military. I mean, it was horrible. I hated it. I hated every second of it, but it humbled me, cut me to my knees, so it's kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing, but I mean, it was probably a good thing for somebody like me. And so after I got out of the Navy, of course I had no success, and I called it Norfolk, Virginia, because I never got laid. And people who did probably were all banging the same girl, because there were so few available females down there, that, I mean, I didn't have any success. I had to come up to Fredericksburg and date girls. I had to drive from Norfolk to Fredericksburg. FXBG Public Radio, y'all, to date. And that never went well either. So I want to drink more beer now that I'm thinking about all this. And so yeah, I got out of the Navy, and I was like, okay, I got myself a really good job, good paying job. I was like, I got an apartment. I'll get an apartment for a while, until I meet somebody, and then we can either stay at the apartment or consider buying a house, because I'm making that kind of money. In 5 years I worked at this place, getting no love, getting no women interested in me, not one. because I was still a dick. I was still a madman. I still looked like this, and so it was uh I just grew angrier and angrier, living alone, just stewing in it, and for 5 years I was looking for somebody to settle down, and I thought that I was super qualified, super intelligent, super capable. And, girls weren't interested in me. They were interested in guys who stayed here in town while I went off 4 years in the Navy, came back with qualifications for an excellent job. And no one wanted me. So, and it's all God's fault, obviously. It's not that I'm an angry dick and look like this. It's none of that, it's God's fault. And so, but I was young and stupid. I was still young and stupid. And so I got fired from that job because I was so depressed and drunk all the time that I ended up getting fired, and rightfully so in retrospect. I mean, they were kind of dicks about it. But that being said, yeah, sure I deserved it. But okay, how much time I got? Okay. All right, yeah, so after that, I just started spiraling down the tube. I was getting real reckless, suicidal. And eventually I tried, I lost my apartment, moved back in with my parents, and ended up trying to kill myself. What a selfish thing to even think of doing in your parents' house. What a dick this guy is. And you wonder why no girls like you. It all makes sense now. So it's but after that, I survived it. I found it to be, I don't know. I have a friend that tried to shoot himself, and the round misfired. It didn't go off, and it was kind of like that, where I felt like it was like, well, I'm never going to try that again. It should have killed me. It didn't. Humans are remarkable creatures, extremely resilient. So after that, I started writing, and I got my books up on Amazon.com. I searched for Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon. I got The Bunny Years, a memoir. It's a story about a superhero. If you're into that kind of comic, if you read comic books like I do, The Bunny Years, a memoir. I also got the Exit 13 books. Get all 3 of them and try to read them in order. Look at the dates and stuff like that. I should have numbered them better. And I also got The Ravings of a Madman. It's basically a bunch of rants that I've done over the years, stuff I don't use on the show. The crap. Search for Ravings of a Madman, Scott L. Robbins, 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon.com. Check them out. Oh, I'm such a whore, aren't I, God? Talking about religion, still whoring it up. Yeah, so I eventually got into writing. I eventually got into Shock Monkey Radio. And at this time, the show was a lot bigger. There are far more people in it, and it was the only show here at what was FXBG Pirate Radio at the time. We've since gave up our pirate ways, hauled down the skull and crossbones, and put up a public flag. And we're trying to do the right things for the right reasons, like EK always says. And if you go to his Twitch channel, FXBG Public Radio on Twitch, you can donate to a charity on there. People who help disabled people be able to play video games themselves. They develop the interfaces to like help people, quadriplegics and so forth. Awesome. And as EKO has said, if I get one person to donate to that, just for me sitting around playing video games, it is worth it. And absolutely, and that's what we try to do. And it's like, we had a party last year. Was it Christmas? I can't remember. A lot of beer. There was wings. No, it was a concert we put on. Was it Christmas? Friggin' time gets away from you. After a while, after like 30, 35, 36, I just stopped giving a shit about what year it was. Oh, is that a bad thing? Anyway, so yeah, I got into Shock Monkey Radio, and slowly and over many years, I was the one who kept coming to the show, always being the guy on the show, always being the guy with the best material, scaring off every single other person who's ever been on Shock Monkey Radio. And now it's my show. It's all mine. Told you I'm hard to work with. seriously, I was the guy who put most of the effort in, and finally EK said to me, he's like, hey, I have this idea. And I liked it. And I'm down with it. And I put in my work. I'll try to help out when I can. It sucks because EK is kind of like shouldering most of the burden during this crisis. We're able to put all this out, but it's EK who's really behind the scenes, making sure all this stuff gets posted, because he is just like the central point of where everything is. And I appreciate you, brother. It's like, I really do. I'm sorry I yelled earlier, but it was in the script. Yeah, so I got involved in this, and now I feel like I am doing what I need to do. And this is why I felt like I needed to discuss the topic of my faith. It's like what I've learned through all of this is that I got to forgive myself, and I got to be honest about who I am and who I was at different times of my life. And once you can start laughing at how stupid you were at 18, it's funny because at 18, you thought you knew it all. You really did. And I think we all look at ourselves, 18 years after 18, whatever that is, 36, around then. Is it 36? Check my math. Okay, it's 36. But you look at yourself at 18, you realize, boy, man, I was really young, dumb, and full of cum, you know how it is. And that's how you are. I mean, it's probably different for a female, but as a woman. But when you're 18, you think you know it all, and you're just, I can fuck it all. I can do it all. And you're unreasonable. You're unreasonable at any, nobody's got it right, even at 43. We're all still, because I see all these children out there throwing tantrums and stuff like that, and people are throwing tantrums. Okay. I really don't see a difference between children and adults. And I've thought that way and looked at people that way for a long, long time, because I have seen men with gray hair throwing a temper tantrum like a toddler. Okay. I've never found a distinction between how children behave and how some adults behave, because some people don't like grow up. Even I throw my temper tantrums. Even I'm selfish enough to sit here for half an hour talking about my perspective of faith. I do believe in God. Absolutely. It's like, do I understand any of it? Hell no. There's too much math involved. He's spinning Uranus like that. It's like, I don't even want to look into those algorithms. I'll just stick to what I do best, and that's create art or create something funny. I find that to be the most rewarding effort on my part for my life. And this is why I do what I do. And this is why I'm offering all of this to you, either on Patreon or on YouTube. And YouTube, so I got clips. I'm still selling myself, still selling sacrificial animals in front of the temple. Just waiting for Jesus to come by with a knotted rope to beat the piss out of me. You're real. Because I mean, even if you met the devil, you're like, oh shit, that you're really the devil, and you believe the devil. It's like, that's what I never understand about these TV shows or movies that have you meet the devil and you're convinced that that's the devil, and you're just like, well, fuck you. I'm not doing anything you want me to do, because if you're real. Oh, it's just one of the things that make me laugh when it comes to religion and theology. So I know I'm not the best person to talk about this stuff like I know anything about it. I know I'm not the kind of person who reads the Bible every day or prays every day. I mean, I'm trying to pray more. I've always found that to be better for me, because I kind of know the Bible, and I know a lot of the stuff that's in it. And so I don't go to church. Maybe I should, but I'm really antisocial. Like I've said before, a lot of people are like, it's like, I'm so lonely during this thing. I was like, I feel fine. I'm good. I'm good with social distancing. Never liked y'all anyway. So, in closing here, let me take a look here at the video. Okay. So in closing here, I just want to talk about how, my faith dictates how I do things, and when I came up as a young Christian, I felt best when I was helping other people, when I was building houses for the poor. I felt like that was my faith in action. Now, I don't want to be a construction worker. You know how many scars I got from like falling downstairs. I'm a klutz. I'm a Homer Simpson kind of guy. All right. I'm the kind of guy who like will cut his hand and stuff like that. Pound. I'm real klutzy. That being said, my labors do include things like writing and so forth. And so I think I can write. I have this podcast. I have this platform. I can tell you what I think, what I believe. And I do believe that, God is love. And I believe that if you operate in love, I think you're within God's good zone. I don't know, because who really knows where the line is? It's like Bo Burnham says, it's that song from a God's perspective, and it's like, I don't want you not to eat pork because I want you to, because why the hell would I give a shit? I created the universe. You think I'm drawing the line at the deli aisle? Like that's true. When actually, I think Jordan Peterson has said this a couple of times, and I think he's quoting somebody else, Nietzsche maybe, where it's the line of good and evil goes right directly through the center of every human heart, or something to that effect. And I believe that's true. And it's all within us. Every action and every choice you make is for good and for evil. When you're young and dumb and full of cum, you're stupid and you're likely to choose the wrong. I have plenty of times. I'm probably going to do it again. I'm an imperfect person. Sorry, but I don't have to apologize to you. I have to apologize to God. I said, I'm bad. I'm a selfish dickhead and got to promoting my books while I'm talking about you and how important you are in my life. And you should hear the conversations we get into. It's a nightmare. And so, or entertaining. God's funnier than me. He's super funny. You remember what he said earlier? What did he say? It was, get a real job, asshole. Oh, he's real funny. Anyway, so in closing, I just want to share one verse with you, because I'm the kind of guy who has found a way who finally understood that there's this rage and anger at the unjust things in the world within me. And so I'm the kind of guy who puts a bridle on it. I'm the kind of guy who harnesses it as a madman would, try to do it for good. And so if you've loved me ranting, and if you've been watching or you've been listening and you like everything that's led you to this point to make you reconsider how you think about God or religion or a faith and a higher power, by all means, I hope that you take that into consideration. That being said, I hope you're not one of these Joe Rogan type of people who just think it's all ridiculous and like, oh, I'm atheist, or I'm agnostic. I'm open to the possibility. You were raised Catholic, weren't you? Yeah, how'd you know? Catholicism has created so many atheists and agnostics. It is frightening. That being said, I want to share one Bible verse with you that has popped up to me today when I was praying for this show to see, hoping, praying for God's help in what I should say and what I shouldn't say. And so I found Proverbs 29:11, which reads, "Fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise bring calm in the end." So here we are at the end of the show. I'm the madman. I'm a sinner. I'm imperfect. I'm a Christian, and I love you.